It felt like I was the cause of them leaving. I felt like I was the reason why things always felt to our thoughts, our feelings are actually creating this electromagnetic frequency around us. There's a lot of people that no matter how much you try to pour into them, their cup is always going to be empty because there's a hole underneath. And no matter how much water you're trying to pour into why do you feel stuck? In today's conversation, we're going to get into the reasons why you might be feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, and quite frankly, nothing you do is helping you achieve the next level. These are the conversations that I wish I would have had somebody talk to me about and tell me how all of the things are connected. And even if we might feel like our business is doing really good, maybe our relationship with our kids doesn't feel like that. Or vice versa. Maybe the relationship at home feels really good, but your business feels like it's falling apart. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about how to shift out of this lack mentality, how to really create a higher vibration for us to attract the blessings that we are designed to create, and also how to attract more abundance into our life. So with that being said, let's get into today's conversation. Now, one of the biggest things that I want to start off by is sharing a little bit about my story for those of you that are new to the channel and are new to the podcast. I grew up with a lot of limiting beliefs. Okay. And I think that we all, to a certain extent, have had this happen in our life, whether it was because you did have parents, but they really weren't the most supportive, whether it was because you grew up in the foster system, whether it's because you had really bad memories of growing up, whatever it is, we all have a story. And I always love to start with that because I believe that the way we learn and the way that we grow is through stories. Think about it. If I just sit here and tell you, these are the 3 things that you should do, go and do them, it doesn't really hit home as much as it would if I tell you, hey, look, this is what I was doing at one point in my life. This is what I had to go through. This is the lesson that I learned. And this is what it actually allowed me to bring into my life because of that lesson that I learned. Everything kind of shifts because you allow yourself to put yourself in the character's shoes and say, how can I see myself in this story? And how can I learn from this story versus just taking notes that don't really hit, right? That don't really help you in any way because they're not giving you perspectives. So let's talk about that. When I was younger, I didn't have my parents growing up, and there were a lot of moments in my life where I felt like I was broken. It felt like I was the cause of them leaving. I felt like I was the reason why things always felt to fall apart. I felt like I couldn't really talk to anybody. My grandparents, which are the people that took me in, were also very, I don't want to say distant, but because of how they were raised, they didn't really know how to show love other than I'm gonna go and work so that we have food on the table, which on my book, that was a really big blessing because there was a lot of other people that didn't have food. And at that time, we were living in a storage room. And as the story unfolds, I started, hanging out with the wrong crowd. I started doing the things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I had a lot of thoughts around why I shouldn't be here. And the reason this is important is because we don't realize how the story that we're constantly feeding ourselves is actually the thing that's holding us back. So at this time, I remember that I had also a miscarriage. I never really have spoken about this to a lot of people because I just felt there was no need to validate my emotions. I felt like I should just hide everything and suppress more. And the more that I suppressed, the easier things were going to get because I was forgetting, right? I wasn't talking about it. Well, that wasn't really the case because the more that I suppressed, the more that it felt like I was stuck. The more that it felt like things weren't really moving forward. And why this is so important when it comes to our self-realization journey, when it comes to becoming whole, and even saying that becoming whole, what that means to me is just remembering who we are, remembering what we come from, which is divinity. God gave us the ability to create the life that we want, but we have been so brainwashed to believe that we need to go to a church in order for us to get the blessing of the priest in order for us to be connected with God. We've been so conditioned by society to believe that if we don't do things in the way that society tells us to do these things, we're evil and we're wrong and we should go to hell. All of these things are brainwashing us. All of these things are consuming us. And this is so important to understand because the story that we constantly tell ourselves is a vibration that we are operating from. All that means is that if I sit here and tell myself, well, you know, because of the family that I had, that's the reason why I can't create more abundance. Well, because of the background that I have, that's the reason why I can't really grow a business. Well, because of the things that I've gone through, that's the reason why I'm broken and I should never really be happy. All of these stories that we're constantly telling ourselves are creating this field around us. I want you to envision it as this magnetic frequency that is around us. And it has been proven by science. For those of you that know, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural. It is one of my all-time favorite books because he really does a great job at making science very digestible for the average folk that doesn't actually have a degree in quantum physics, neuroscience, and all of these other very intricate subjects. But when we can understand that there is evidence that shows that our thoughts, our feelings are actually creating this electromagnetic frequency around us, why this is so important is because when we're always focusing on lack, when we're always focusing on everything that we don't have, when we're always focusing in the past stories that we've been telling ourselves, this is anchoring in more of that frequency, which in turn brings more of that energy into our existence. Now, why is that so important? Well, if you're interested in going further and you're interested in starting a business, you're interested in attracting the love of your life, if you're interested in creating more abundance, you need to be a vessel to receive that. You need to expand your emotional, spiritual, intellectual rubber band to really actually embody that frequency. Because think about it. If I plug into an outlet, let's say, a frequency that is at a higher voltage, and I put that into the outlet that is not prepared to give that type of power, what's going to happen is there's going to be a mix match. And there's either going to be no electricity that's going to come out, or potentially too much, and to the point where it's going to damage my blow dryer, right? In this example, because you're connecting something to a frequency that is not in vibration with this other frequency. And that is so important when you can understand it, because that means that when we're focusing on everything that we don't have, what we continue to bring into our life is more lack. What we continue to embody is more procrastination, more animosity, more envy. I had to really realize that this spiritual journey is a ever-evolving journey. You're never going to be fully 100% fixed. And even saying the word fixed, it's something that I still work through, because a lot of the times I've heard some of my teachers tell me like, well, what's the problem? You know, why do you identify with being broken, or why are you seeing it as being broken? Like, that's where we need to work on to actually become whole and understand that we are already whole and there is nothing wrong with us. When I say fix, I more so mean becoming aware of the things that we still need to work on. I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. I believe that we should be okay with the fact that I have things that I want to improve. Does that mean that I love myself any less? No. Does that mean that I'm going to perform from a lower vibration and lack and animosity and scarcity? No. But that does mean that I can be aware of what I need to improve on. And something that really has helped me move forward is aligning with the frequency of our Creator in terms of gratitude. When we're always focusing on everything that we don't have, when we're always focusing on everything that we're lacking from our life, when we're always focusing on the stories that we've been through, what that does is it creates a bunch of resistance. It creates resistance because we're back at that point in which we felt broken. We're back at that place where we felt abandoned. We're back at that place where we felt neglected, unloved, unworthy. However, when you're in that mindset, when you're in survival mindset, which basically just just means all you're worried about is getting the next paycheck to provide enough food to help you put food on the table and get to the next paycheck. When you're living like that for an extended period of time, not only is it damaging to your nervous system, but it's damaging to your soul. And what that's doing, because we are energetic beings, we are creating all this resistance around us, which is bringing more lack into our life. And the way you want to see it is if we are a creator, right? Because I used this example earlier on a TikTok that I was making, which is, let's say we are God and we're sending our kids to this planet where they're going to learn things. Wouldn't you think that God would want to equip us with the most powerful tool that he could possibly equip us with, which is our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, actually creating this vessel to create abundance and light? When you think about it from that perspective, there is so much that we already have within us that all we need to do is remember of the true blessing that we already carry with us. You see, when I think of my kids, I wouldn't want to send them to the world for them to get eaten by wolves. I would want to give them something within them that they're able to tap into that is going to help them elevate themselves to the next level that they need to be in. But because we have the power of free will, it's up to them in this example, whether they want to use it or not. But I always come back to this example of thinking of everything that is created now as a thought that once was in our minds, right? The Wright brothers were at one point called crazy for talking about creating these metal objects that were going to fly through the skies. And they were looked at as Looney Tunes, right? They were looked at, bashed on, and all the things ridiculed. But yet we are reaping those rewards right now because we get to travel to China, we get to travel to Paris, we get to travel to London. We get to use this tool that at one point was ridiculed, which was the imagination. The imagination is actually what creates this reality that we have. And this is why the first thing that you really want to recognize if you're feeling like you're not moving forward is that your thoughts are literally creating the reality that you have. You see, when you're going through a period in your life of shedding people, what is happening is that you're no longer in vibration with these people. There's a lot of people that no matter how much you try to pour into them, their cup is always going to be empty because there's a hole underneath. And no matter how much water you're trying to pour into that person, into that situation, there is a hole that hasn't been fixed to the root cause. Therefore, you are pouring into somebody that has their own thing that they need to work on. And this is why a lot of us sometimes we feel burned out. We feel overwhelmed because we're pouring into people, we're pouring into things, we're pouring into situations that have a hole. And instead of us working on the story that we're telling ourselves, geared around validation, geared around why it is that we feel this need to be accepted by this person or be loved by this person or feel worthy of this person, we continue to give our power away. So my first tip for you today, if you're really trying to move forward, is start recognizing how you are already a creator. And your thoughts are creating that reality that you are embodying. Your thoughts are what's bringing everything into your existence. Now, how do we shift out of this energy, right? When we're feeling lack, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling like the whole world is out to get us. You see, recently, my grandma just got out of the hospital and it was very emotional because I have never really had to take care of her in the way that I took care of her these past days. And all I could think of in that moment was the stuff that I've been learning, which is geared around focus on what you can control, which your only thing that you can control is your reaction to these things that are happening. Like I cannot control the things that are happening, but I can control my attitude toward these things that are happening. And as she was in the hospital, as I had to help her bathe herself, as I had to pick her up from the floor when she fell at the house before she got to the hospital, as all of these things were happening, there was a psyche in me which I like to call it the lower vibration self, that went into victim mentality. It went into, why is it that you have to deal with all of this stuff? Where are her kids? Where are the people that should be taking care of her? Where are the people that should be here for her? Why does it have to be you? And I'm being vulnerable by sharing this with you guys because most people are so afraid to say what they really think because they feel afraid of other people judging them. But that's the reason why we get stuck in this loop, because we're never talking about the things that are really keeping us in that loop. So I had to really sit down with myself and say like, okay, what is the first teaching that you've learned from experiences that you're going through that are not ideal? I had to pause and I had to tell myself, what a gift. Whatever this is in this moment, I don't recognize the full extent of the gift, but I know it's a gift. I know it's a gift from you, God. I know that I believe in soul contracts. And for those of you that don't know soul contracts, we've talked about it before in the podcast. But essentially, I believe that we all have already agreed on everything that we're going to experience in this reality. From our name, to our family, to the place where we're born in, to the people we're going to meet, everything. And this is driven by a lot of psychology and a lot of past life regression therapy. And if you want to dive deeper into that, I recommend you look into Dolores Cannon's work. But essentially, that really makes sense to me, what a lot of people have seen when they've experienced a near-death life experience. And when I remind myself of that, I tell myself, there's a reason why I'm experiencing this. There is something that I have to learn from this experience. So when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling in lack, the first thing you need to do is pause and recognize that your next reaction is what's either going to help you propel forward or keep you in the same vibration. We have the power to focus on the next step that we want to take. We have the power to decide, do we want to stay in this low vibration or do we want to recognize it as a gift? And I know there's a lot of teachers in the spiritual community that will talk about, embrace that emotion and feel that emotion and don't just go and meditate and run away from that emotion, sit with that emotion and feel that emotion. And I understand that. I don't agree with that because I feel like the more that you sit with that emotion, the more that it festers and the more that it becomes like this toxic energy running through your body. And I personally believe that I already know why I'm feeling that emotion, right? I already know that I'm feeling like the victim. I already know that there's something there that I can work through. But I believe that instead of staying in that victim mentality, I can go into a creator mentality and say, you know what? Let me gather my thoughts. Let me understand that this is a gift. Even if in this moment I don't 100% see it as a gift, I know that I have chosen this experience and there is something I'm going to learn and there is something that I am going to come out of this experience as a stronger version of myself from. So when I pause and when I recognize that, again, my thoughts are creating my reality and my reality is dictated by my thoughts and my frequency and my emotions, then it allows me to take back the power and focus on what I can control, which is, where is my mindset going to be? And the reason why most of us feel stuck is because we continue to breed more of that toxic energy. We continue to surround ourselves with people that enable that emotion. You see, I used to have a friend that I personally thought this person was going to be somebody that I was going to maybe grow old with and, know her for a long time and just be there for her. But I recognized that there was a lot of tendencies in the way she saw the world that were still keeping her in a victim mentality. And for me, because I care for people, as I'm sure all of us to a certain degree feel like we do, especially when we're in this healing journey, right? We try to tell the other person what they could do that could help them get to the next milestone, because at least that's what I want from friends in my journey. I want people to tell me, hey, Alexa, you're messing up here. This is where you could be better. Hey, Alexa, this is how you came across. Like, this is something that you could do differently the next time. I do enjoy that because it helps me be a better person. But I can also understand that there's moments in which somebody that tells me something that I'm not 100% on board with them telling me, it can rub me the wrong way. And this is where, with this friend, where I thought, this person is going to be like a lifelong friendship. We're going to, see each other grow old. I realized that she still had her own emotional trauma to go through, her own emotional victim mentality that she was working through, just like we all do. But at the end of the day, we cannot expect anybody to fix us. We cannot expect anybody to help us go through that emotion other than us doing the work. The reason I believe in internal work so much is because this is what has allowed me to see perspectives of other people in a different way. The second I am getting into a victim mentality, it's like this other little psyche comes up and it's like, oh, we're gonna do that? We're gonna sit here in this victim mentality versus learn something from it? What are we doing? And if you can start conditioning yourself to do this one time, after another time, after another time, it becomes easier for you to get out of that low vibration. Now, the next thing is stop blaming others and take responsibility. A lot of the times we focus so much on the fact that we feel like the victim. We feel like the world owes us something. We feel like more people should be willing to see our potential and our light. But the truth is that we need to see our own potential. We need to see our own light. And there is nobody that is here to save us but ourselves. And if you can understand that, this is really what's going to help you move the needle forward, because you're no longer in this mentality of who's coming to save me. You're in this mentality of accountability, and I am here for myself, and I am here to become the best version of myself that I can possibly be. When you do these 3 things, this really helps you stop telling yourself the same story that you've been telling yourself year after year. You see, yes, we've all had stuff that has happened to us. Yes, we all have stuff that is going to continue to happen, but your reaction toward life is what allows you to step into a different vibration, which in turn allows you to bring more abundance into your life, more blessings into your life, more love into your life. And if you've been feeling like you're not moving forward, the reason for that is because you're still stuck in the past. You're still stuck in survival. You're still stuck telling yourself the same thing over and over again, watching another podcast, reading another self-help book, doing another journaling, but you're not realizing that you're still telling yourself the same thing that you've been telling yourself. I recently saw it on one of my, in our community actually, this person, she was vulnerable enough to share, and she said, you know what? I've been feeling like I'm sad. I've been feeling very burned out. I've been feeling very overwhelmed. And part of me knows that I don't want to feel this anymore, but I don't know how. And this is why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people, read the right things, be in the right mindset. But most importantly, condition yourself. Just like you condition yourself to have these thoughts, start conditioning yourself to have different thoughts. That's the secret key. Because until you become aware of the story that you're constantly narrating, until you become aware of the frequency that you're constantly embodying, you are going to continue to live the same past in your present. Why? Because you're telling yourself the same story. We all have things that have happened, and I know it's not ideal. I know it wasn't ideal when I went through my miscarriage. I know it wasn't ideal when I lost my parents. I know it wasn't ideal when we didn't have any money. I know it wasn't ideal when I went through the things that I went through as a child. But here's what I do know. I am alive, and I get to decide how I want to live my future. And by allowing myself to live in my past, all I'm doing is literally bringing toxic energy into every single cell that I have in my body. And what that's going to do is that's going to continue to breed more lack into my life. That's going to continue to amplify more scarcity and more regret and more shame, instead of saying, you know what a gift. I remember when I went through that miscarriage, it was super emotional. I did not understand why I was going through that. Looking back at it now, I realized that that wasn't the right person to have been with and to have created a family with at that time. And this is not to say that I'm happy about the fact that I went through that miscarriage, because again, it was very emotional, it was very traumatic. But at the end of the day, God never gives us more than we can handle. And there is always a reason for why things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. And if you can just remember that when you're going through these moments of lack, when you're going through these moments of uncertainty, when you're going through these moments of feeling like you're not worthy, this is what allows you to shift into a higher vibration. And this is what allows you to bring more manifestations into your life, more abundance into your life, more love into your life. So remember, the more that you focus on everything that is geared around victim mentality, the more you're going to attract more victim mentality. The more that you attract and actually tap into what is the story that you're telling yourself, the more that you continue to work through the emotions that you're feeling and why you're feeling these emotions, and now start conditioning yourself to feel new emotions, the higher in vibration vibration that you're going to be. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode here. If nobody has told you, remember that you are loved, you are worthy. And the fact that you're showing up to do the work is extraordinary because most people don't want to face this side of themselves. Most people rather go out and just forget about everything that they really need to work through because it's easier. It's harder to face yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the things that you know you could be better at. So give yourself freaking a huge hug and tell yourself how amazing you are for showing up, how amazing you are for being you, and for trying every single day to just become a better version of you.